Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that I would be perfectly capable of doing what she does? I, 30M, have a wife, 30F, and a daughter, 7F. I work in finance and my wife is a stay-at-home mom as I earn sufficient for the both of us. My wife is a great stay-at-home mom and takes great care of our house. I was lucky to buy a home as I earn well in a medium cost of living city. I love my wife, but she finds it humorous to say that I am incapable of doing household tasks. We had agreed that she would do them when we decided she would stay at home, but I do stuff occasionally when we are both home if she asks me to. But then if I say load the dishwasher for her, she will claim I did it wrong just because I do it different than she does. It still cleans well. The other day we were eating and she told me about her day and how she went grocery shopping and optimized the cost by buying specific items at specific stores and accounting for the cost of traveling to each store, and she made an offhand remark that I would never be able to do that and said it in a "what would you ever do without me" kind of way. I replied back saying that of course I could do it. I handle complex decisions and calculations at my work as I work in finance, and that I have a master's degree and what I do involves more intellect than household operations, even though I acknowledged and appreciate what she does, would be capable if the roles were reversed. She got angry and seemed to think I was calling her stupid when I wasn't, and then cried, and now I feel like an AH. She said she was a very good student and had she graduated she would be in my position as well. My wife and I met in college, but she was an international student studying physics and computer science, and she had issues with her loan from her home country and could not afford to complete it, and we got married then so she could stay. Initially she wanted to complete it later after finding the funds, but she agreed to be a SOM when I got a good job, and I appreciate that a lot as we were able to have a kid early on even while I was both completing my master's and working full-time.
My 23F husband, 58M, told me he was going to South America and actually went to Europe. We have been together 4 years, married when I was 19. We have a prenup which benefits both of us, mostly, and we also own and operate a business together. I have caught him in several lies and confronted him about this general problem 2 weeks ago. He listened and told me he would not lie to me anymore and he was sorry. Bottom line, I was told that he was visiting Argentina with his special needs 14-year-old son, which I was okay with. He stuck with this story when he came back, and when I asked him about his return flight, he told me he took a direct flight from Argentina that flew directly back to the US where we live. This flight did not exist on any directories. Come to find out, he actually went to Rome with his special needs son, who is in pictures with him, and his ex, they divorced 12 years ago, who helps care for his son. He said directly to me that it was a trip for him and his son only, but that his ex flew there to help them with a waiver only and did not stay the entire trip. This is not the first time I have caught him in a lie. In May, he told me he was just relaxing, and he actually went to a concert 3 hours away with said son and ex. I am done at this point. It is clear I cannot trust him and need to divorce. Do I tell him now or later? How do I even handle this? I have just wasted 4 years of my life on this man and don't even know how I should proceed. I'm so lost.
Am I the a-hole for telling my mom that I don't give a F about my autistic brother? My 16F parents didn't have much time for me after my brother, 9M, was born, and it got even worse after he was diagnosed with autism when he was 3. My dad is rarely home and my mom is always busy with my brother, so neither of them have time for me. I've known my best friend Rachel since we were in kindergarten. Her mom is the nicest person I've ever met. Rachel and I played soccer, but my mom was rarely able to take me to practices and games, so Rachel's mom would always take me. I used to be in the school choir and my parents went at like one performance during the 6 years I did it. Rachel's mom was at every performance for me even though Rachel wasn't in choir. Those are just a few examples, but Rachel's mom has always been there for me when my parents weren't available. My mom never really cares what I'm doing unless she needs me to watch my brother, so I spend a lot of time at Rachel's house. Once I spent a whole weekend there and my mom didn't even call to ask where I am. Rachel's family go on a lot of vacations and they often take me. They're going to Disney World during Thanksgiving break and invited me to come with them. I asked my dad and he said I could go. They've already planned and booked everything and I'm really excited. I've been to Disneyland once with my family and it was horrible. My brother threw a huge tantrum on the first day because he wanted to go on the rides alone and sit between mom and dad, so I had to stay in the hotel most of the time. My brother found out that I'm going to Disney and he had a really big meltdown. He loves Disney and he was mad that I was going without him. My mom told me that she was planning to go to Washington to visit my grandparents. My dad didn't say anything about that, so I'm pretty sure she just made that up to stop me from going. And even if they are going, I don't want to. I don't want to go on a 14-hour car ride with my brother, and I'm pretty sure when we get there, they're either going to make me stay with him while they go out or take him out and leave me alone in the hotel. I also wouldn't be allowed to go out on my own. She told me that I need to think about my brother and his feelings are more important because he's younger and autistic. I told her that I honestly don't give a F about my brother's feelings and I wish he was never born. He was there when I said all this and he's been crying and screaming for the last 3 hours and it's giving me a headache. My mom has been trying to calm him down and my dad said that he'll still let me go because he understands I'm frustrated. He also grew up with neurodivergent siblings, so he knows what it's like. My mom said that I'm a rude, ungrateful brat and I need to be kinder to my brother. Am I the a-hole? Edit. IDK if this is important, but we live in California and went to Disneyland in Anaheim. I'm going to Disney World in Orlando with Rachel's family. I think my brother does somewhat understand that Disney World has more fun stuff, which makes him more mad. I didn't tell him anything and I'm pretty sure my dad didn't either, so either he overheard us talking or my mom told him. Edit 2. I was 11 when the Disneyland incident happened. My brother was mostly nonverbal then, but when we were about to leave the hotel he started screaming and saying no while pointing at me. My parents calmed him down briefly, but when we got on our first ride he started screaming again, so my parents told me to go back to the hotel. I snuck out the second day and went on like 2 rides before I ran into my parents and they told me to back because they didn't want me to be out there alone. Am I the a-hole for serving my 30F, sister-in-law, 32F, dinner on a kid's plate? My husband and I have family dinners at our house every month or so with our family. I have some sets of fine china that I like to switch out between the seasons that I've inherited from my grandmother. When we have our get-togethers I serve dinner on these plates. My mother-in-law compliments them every time. My sister-in-law, however, has made comments to me that they're not her style. I honestly didn't think twice or comment about it until this past February when one of my plates was put in the sink, broken. Chalked it up to an accident. In April we had another dinner. This time sister-in-law was carrying both her and her boyfriend's plates to the sink, and accidentally dropped both. Again, no biggie at all. In May she broke 2 more plates and in June she broke a plate and a cup. At this point I was catching on. I brought up these concerns to my husband and he brushed it off as accidents. I told my mom and she said she thought my sister-in-law was doing it on purpose and got me a camera to put in my dining room. In July we had dinner, and I had an opportunity arise. My mother-in-law, sister-in-law and her boyfriend joined us for dinner. While our plates were still on the table my mother-in-law asked how my plants were doing and I said I'd show her. I told my husband to follow us outside so he could show her the plant he's growing, leaving sister-in-law alone with her boyfriend. When we came back inside 5 minutes later, her plate was broken. When they left, I pulled up the camera footage. I saw her stand up when we walked out and peek around the corner, and then throw the plate on the ground. I kept this video to myself. That brings me to this past weekend. We had our family dinner and we were joined by my in-laws, sister-in-law and her boyfriend as well as my parents, siblings and niece. I served everyone, saving evil sister-in-law for last. I brought her food out on a child's plate with a sippy cup and got those kids silverware with the plastic handles. She looked at me confused and said, "I think you mixed my plate up with your niece's plate," and I said no, niece's name is responsible enough to eat on a grown-up's plate. If you're going to act like a child in my home, I'm going to treat you like a child in my home. She tried to play coy but I had my iPad ready and played the video to everyone at the table. She started sobbing, swiped the kid's plate off the table and stormed out. My in-laws both apologized and offered to pay for replacement plates but I told them not to worry about it. Despite this we still had a nice time. When everyone left my husband told me I was out of line and cruel, but I told him that this has been happening for months and I've told him it was bothering me multiple times. It's Wednesday, he's still being a little cold to me and I also got a text from my sister-in-law's boyfriend asking me if I would apologize to her because I really embarrassed her. I sent him the video again and he left me on read. My husband just called me to ask if I was taunting her boyfriend because his sister called him crying that I was. So, am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for snapping back when my friend's boyfriend commented on my bikini? I, 29F, am in a group holiday with my fiancé and 3 other couples. We are renting a big villa. This story concerns my friend Casey, 30F, and her boyfriend Josh, 30M. For context, I don't hate Josh, but he requires a firm approach. He will try his brutal honesty stuff on you to see if you'll let him get away with it, but once you show him you won't put up with it, he calms down. That said, He's prone to some stupid remarks. So, yesterday we were all having a relaxed day by the pool. I came out of the house in my bikini and Josh Wolf whistled and said, "Damn, I really chose the wrong friend," loud enough for everyone to hear. Without missing a beat, I turned to him and said, "Why are you acting like you had your pick of the litter? I would never have looked at you twice and you know it." Josh laughed off the comment and went back to reading his book, but Casey pulled me inside and yelled at me for embarrassing her and Joshua. She said what I said was demeaning and I basically called Josh ugly. I was pretty stunned because actually I think what happened was Josh called me a piece of meat. We argued and I basically said that I wasn't responsible for her boyfriend's crass behavior and went back outside. Casey is still giving me the cold shoulder, as well as the 3 people who told her she was overreacting. It's making everything awkward. I don't think I'm in the wrong here, but some of the group have said I was overly cutting with what I said, considering Josh was already out of line. Basically they said I joined him in the gutter. My fiancé says both Casey and Josh are nut jobs. Am I the one who took it too far? Today I effed up by reaching out to a therapist for low self-esteem. 29F here. I got together with a really great guy just over a year ago. He is very confident and charismatic, takes life by the balls and so loving. His only red flag I thought I found was that he seemed too good to be true. We took a long time for me to accept the situation and get together with him, but my importance to him and his consistent love for me scared the crap out of me, leading to major self-sabotage as well as massive confusion on his behalf. I see what my struggles are doing and decide to reach out for temporary therapy sessions through work. I expected that they would teach me a few mantras or something, but knowing the small amount that was offered through the service, I didn't expect much. I have also had a skin condition for years that is connected to extreme stress and requires daily antihistamines to stop myself blowing up like Java and ripping my skin off from the itch, so I figured it could help that too. I arrive, I sit down ready to ask for tips and tricks. But, as soon as she asks how she can help me, I completely explode. Snot bubbles, rivers of tears and vomit of words. I didn't even know it was in me. Everything from my 29 years just fell out of me as though I was a high-pressure faucet that was unable to be stopped. Long story short, after 2 sessions she tells me that she's surprised I can even get out of bed, she can't help me and that I need to see a proper trauma counselor who can see me long-term. She then unofficially diagnoses me with CPTSD, anxiety, and depression. I am now in regular sessions with a trauma therapist, feeling completely overwhelmed and trying to keep my head above water as I try to find what pills I require to function and work through my lifelong issues that I ran from for so long. I don't know which way is up. My partner is still with me and supporting me through it all. But it's definitely not easy on him. I went to make my relationship easier on my partner and it backfired dramatically.